welcome to the Pueblo Zoo's Rainforest Tour. Today we're going to show you the inside of the Rainforest exhibit, which hasn't been open since early 2020. There's been a lot growing inside. We have signs that tell you all about how rainforests work and some really amazing animals. So let's take a stroll through and see what we can spot. Before I forget, I brought my friend Alexia with me to help me take a tour and explain some things to you guys. Let's follow her.
Let's go explore the rainforest.
Great question. That white chain stuff is actually plastic chains to help keep birds from wanting to fly out of the doors. This exhibit is open air, and we have flighted birds that make their way around the space. We want to make sure that they stay in that space. And so zoos have tried lots of different techniques to do that, and this is our solution: to use these large, really lightweight plastic chains that they're a little cumbersome to walk through, but they help keep our birds inside the exhibit and safe. The first bird we encounter here in the Rainforest exhibit is Oro. Oro is a blue and gold macaw. She is 44 years old, which may sound kind of old for an animal, but birds, particularly big birds and parrots, can live for quite a while. In the wild, they may only live up to 35 years. But Oro here is very likely to live until she is 60. She didn't want to come out and see us on the day of our visit, but we have Alexia here showing us the blue and gold feathers and also the beak that they use to get into fruits and seeds that they eat from high up in the treetops of the rainforest.
As we look a little bit more around our interpretation of a rainforest, you see lots of plants, obviously very green, not getting direct sunlight, right? Because they would normally exist way underneath of the canopy. Many of these leaves are broad and are able to divert water down into the roots beneath them. They also commonly are a lot of what we use as houseplants, which is interesting that rainforest plants are the ones that we have inside of our homes. They work really well because they don't need a ton of sunlight, and we're often watering them for as much as they need. Another thing that you'll see is a replica of a type of tree that you might find in the rainforest. It has interesting roots that we refer to as buttress because the soil isn't very fertile in rainforests. The taller trees have developed these buttress roots, and these roots give extra support for the tree, which is not able to grow deep rooting systems that a very tall tree like this would ordinarily need to grow in a stable way. All right, we're going to rejoin Alexia, and she's going to talk to us about the different layers of the rainforest, which are here listed in this slide, but she's going to show you the interpretation and signage that is in the exhibit. And when you get to visit us again, you'll be able to take part in kind of a guessing game of what types of animals live in different parts of the rainforest and what layers. So macaws, like we met Oro earlier, would live up in the canopy to emergent layer because that's where their food is mostly. That's how they can see each other. But things like peccaries and pumas, they would be living down on the forest floor, trying to hunt for things, and bugs and snakes and lizards are in every layer in between. So let's join Alexia now.
Emergent layers. Fewer trees make up this layer than those below, but the trees in the layer are often more than 250 feet tall. Many birds and some primates spend much of their time in the emergent layer. Trees Species include macaws, Brazil nut, and beanpot. Canopy. This is a dense and leafy layer that soaks up most of the sunlight and blocks it from layers below. 90% of rainforest life resides here. Understory. Just 15% of available sunlight makes it down here. This is where vines, ferns, and palms are rooted. Insects thrive here. Flora. The forest floor is covered in leaf litter that decomposes quickly. This is where lotus slowly thrives. It is drought and very damp all the time. Numerous invertebrates and large mammals call the forest floor home.
Now we're about to see a really exciting animal. A lot of people find sloths to be really interesting. They have super cute faces, and they're very slow, and they seem to be just really non-threatening. So we're going to be able to see very clearly on our tour Foley, that's the name of our he's 3 years old, 3-year-old sloth who's hanging out in the treetops there. That's generally where sloths hang out. They are solitary. They mostly are active as they can be at night, spending most of their time in the trees, and they might travel across the ground to move to a new tree. They're considered the world's slowest mammal, so slow that algae actually grows on their furry coat. So the plant that grows on them gives them a greenish tinge, and that kind of helps them to camouflage in the forest. There isn't a lot that predates on them that is looking to eat them. Perhaps really large birds like harpy eagles, or maybe the occasional primate, but they're pretty much kept from harm. They do have very long hooked claws, and that helps them to hang from the trees without exerting too much energy. And they do sleep 15 to 20 hours a day, and even when they're awake, they don't move a lot. So we're very happy to show you this guy, even if it is just for a second, and we hope that if you come to see us in person, that he'll be out to say hello.
You can see our sloth up there, and Alexia is holding a replica of a skull of a sloth. So you can see it, looks like a skull, and it's got some pretty big teeth, which you might not assume, but relative to her hands and head, they're pretty small animals. They just have a lot of hair to kind of keep them safe from all the animals in the rainforest.
Now let's go find some more birds, because that's really what we feature in this exhibit. We're about to come across a Lady Ross's Turaco. And this is a rather large bird, black with a red crest and a bright yellow beak. They have this shimmery effect to their feathers, and so it almost makes them a bit purple. Monogamous pairs will build their nests together and share the responsibility of incubating the clutch of eggs that they have, which is usually just 2, and then they both help to feed the chicks. Birds sometimes have parenting styles that can mimic a bit humans, in that both male and female are involved in the rearing of the chick. You also see that they have a very long tail feather, and this helps them to balance in the trees.
Here's the different birds that they have in here. This Lady Ross's Turaco, native to America, Lady Ross's Turacos are very social birds moving in small noisy flocks. They spend their life among trees in search of fruit and settle each evening on a nest of fruit. So let's try to find them. There's one up there.
When you visit the zoo next, you may see this little bird flitting around the space, and it looks pretty unassuming, but it is this beautiful bird that has an even more gorgeous call. It is classified as a songbird. It's called a shama thrush, mostly found in Asia and India. Um, they communicate with each other using very distinctive, gorgeous melodies. They have really long tails that allow them to change direction quickly when they're flying. And they like to eat small insects where they hang out in the canopy of the forest. So it's a quick clip of the shama thrush itself, but listen for its call in this clip that we took. We were trying to look at Oro previously, and we were playing music for her. And when the shama thrush heard it, she wanted to sing along. We find visitors really enjoy seeing primates at the zoo. And we are a small zoo, so we don't have the large, charismatic gorillas and orangutans, but we do have these incredible small primates. And here you're going to meet Keela and Geo. They are our two cotton-topped tamarins. These are little monkeys, only found in a very small portion of Colombia, the country in South America. Unfortunately, they are critically endangered because they are only found in the small part of Colombia. It's oftentimes the deforestation that happens that takes away the homes of these animals, and that is what leaves them with numbers that are not ones that we're super happy with. But there are conservation programs going on that are helping to lift up the communities around where the tamarins live, which is often the best way that conservation is done, when you can provide tools and resources to people who live around these animals. They are able to make their businesses and their home lives more sustainable, and they're then therefore not having to perhaps cut down as many trees or be employed by places that are not respecting the land. Tamarins themselves are omnivorous. They have kind of a long gestation, 6 months for babies to grow and be born. They birds of prey are their main predators, and they do have sharp claws and large molars, so they can be a little intimidating even with that cute little face. So let's take a look at the cotton-top tamarin. Thanks for going on our virtual tour of the rainforest. We hope we see you here